71 years ago, the United Nations General Assembly declared December 10th World Human Rights Day. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, proclaims the inalienable rights which everyone is inherently entitled to as human beings, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, language, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. To date, there exists no Human Rights Commission in Saint Lucia. Such an entity would hold the police and other officials within the judicial system accountable for actions that violate the rights of the people. Attorney-at-law and human rights advocate Mary Francis says Saint Lucia is long overdue for a Human Rights Commission.
We need help from the states, and such help, I think, can be provided with the establishment of a National Human Rights Commission on the part of government. This was called for in 2015 when Saint Lucia had to submit before the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva for a periodic review of the steps that Saint Lucia has taken to implement conventions, United Nations conventions. And a call was made in view of the various problems in Saint Lucia to have a National Commission of Human Rights set up by government. On a day like today, I think all Saint Lucians should actually pause for a few moments and ask themselves whether they are sufficiently educated on human rights, whether they understand the fundamental rights in the Constitution, and what needs to be done, and to become more enthusiastic about becoming members of NGOs. We celebrated 40 years, and I'm saying it is a shame that we don't have such a commission. Whilst we build monuments, monuments are important, but what about people? What about taking it to the higher level in terms of ensuring that human beings actually live a life free from fear?
Francis argues that without human rights, the quality of life would diminish. In her annual message on Human Rights Day, she charged that there is too much poverty, too much neglect of marginalized persons in Saint Lucia, unemployment, police brutality, and unresolved police killings of citizens.
We don't have an independent investigative unit for the police force. We're not serious in Saint Lucia. Those things are really necessary, and I think long overdue. We need to have those things in place because we cannot just accept the one-sided story. Inquests are being held. The Coroner's Act needs reforming. There is no transparency in terms of inquests. The police gather the information, they place it before the coroner. Where is the independence? It's a one-sided affair.
With the death in custody of Shem Sinais at the Library Police Station on December 7th and the disappearance of Michael Blaze following his release from custody at the Choiseul Police Station on November 24th, Francis alleges that such incidents demonstrate a lack of regard for the rights of persons by the authorities.
I think this was a case of extreme recklessness on the part of the police because I heard it been said that he was a guy with mental issues going to the special aids. Apparently, they never communicated with the family, which according to our laws and the rules governing arrest of persons, you have rights in custody, a right to a telephone call, to call your parent or a lawyer. And the excuse that it was 72 hours and you have to release him, to me that is just ridiculous because you took a young man like that all the way in Choiseul. He's not familiar with this on the night time again. So there is such a thing as protective custody. He could have been kept until the following day for his own protection. So again, it shows disregard on the part of the police of the rights of persons and for the safety, which is the duty of the state to provide. And I hope that there's going to be a serious investigation and some kind of sanctions against the police for acting recklessly. And when persons die at the hands of the state, I mean, it is paramount that we get some kind of independent resolution and maybe prosecution. What example is the state setting?
On Monday, police officials declined to answer questions posed by the media on the protocols and guidelines for the detention of suspects. It is a move Francis described as a pattern within the police force.
You see, the whole idea of persons are saying, okay, they are agents of the state. When they fall short, they are negligent and persons suffer. That the government, the state has to pay compensation when the matter is brought to the courts. But it's actually the taxpayers' monies. So if they are made personally liable for their negligence and recklessness, I think somehow this type of behavior would be curtailed. You know, And again, the National Commission for Human Rights would be important in terms of access to justice. This is a problem in Saint Lucia. Access to justice is becoming more and more very costly. So the right to legal representation, to me, does not even exist in our society nowadays. And the National Commission might have the avenue to provide justice for such persons.
This year's global theme for Human Rights Day is Youth Standing Up for Human Rights. According to the UN, youth participation is essential to achieve sustainable development for all. Youth can play a crucial role in positive change, and empowering them to better know and claim their rights will generate benefits globally. Lizanne Bovell-Jones, HTS News Force.